You may begin, Paula, please.
First of all, thank you, Delaware League of Women Voters. As a league member myself, I appreciate your hard work. I'm running for Congress because our country is at a crossroads. This election is a clear choice. I have a record of making tough choices to balance the budget and strengthen our community. In 2005, as a new commissioner, I found a looming $55 million deficit. We cut spending, established a responsible debt policy, and later enacted a fiscal sustainability resolution, which I wrote. Now we have $183 million in reserves. We're the only double AAA bond-rated county in Ohio. We've made Central Ohio better. Congressman Tiberi has been in Washington for a decade. He hasn't been standing up for us. He voted to give a $700 billion bailout to Wall Street and against fixing the broken system that got us into that mess. Then he turned around and accepted $300,000 from the same Wall Street interest he voted to bail out with our money. He introduced legislation that would have made it easier for mortgage companies to prey on Ohio families and accepted over $100,000 from those mortgage interests. After a decade of voting for runaway spending, including spending our $236 billion surplus, Congressman Tiberi voted 6 times to raise his own pay. I'm running for Congress to represent middle-class families and small businesses in Central Ohio. I'll deal with our budget problems. We need a 5% pay cut for members of Congress until the budget's balanced. I'll vote to close tax loopholes that ship our jobs overseas and instead use that money to expand credit and make targeted tax cuts for small businesses here in Central Ohio. I have a record of working together and getting results. We need that common sense in Washington.
Thank you. Mr. Rubin, please.
Okay, thank you very much to the League for having me. Would it be helpful if I stood up?
We'd rather everybody sit.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much for the League for having me here. I appreciate any entity having all the candidates on the ballot. I do appreciate it. And thank you, Mr. Tiberi and Ms. Brooks, for being here today. A little bit about me. I'm from the Central Ohio area. I was born and raised here. I'm from Bexley. I went to Bexley High School, graduated actually only 8 years ago, valedictorian in 2002. Then I went off to Ohio University, where I studied communications, and I graduated summa cum laude with honors in 2006. And during that year, I finally started my own business. I'm a media entrepreneur. We do everything from video to film to anything in communications, and that's how I make my living, and that's my small business. And I've been self-employed for the past 4 years. I've been fortunate to go across the world. I've worked in the Bahamas, Nigeria, England, and after a stint in the Bahamas in 2006, I came back in 2007 to find my neighbors in Bexley disgruntled with City Hall, and I ran for mayor of Bexley against 7 other candidates. So it was quite an exciting year for Bexley. After receiving 5% of the vote as a first-time candidate, I actually went to Washington, and I had a position on Capitol Hill with a Democrat named Chuck Schumer. And after a while there, I got dissatisfied. I got dissatisfied with the partisanship, with the bickering between the two parties, both parties trying to make each other look bad instead of presenting real solutions to very serious fiscal problems. And I left the position and actually took a job with Matthew Lesko, the entrepreneur government grant guru. You may know from his infomercials, he wears a question mark suit and runs around and talks about free money from the government. I got a job with him, and I actually did stories on local governments and traveled the country, 15 different states, doing stories on local governments, and that is what has instilled my belief that the best democracy, the best government is local. In the same way the best food is local, the best government is local. And that's why now this year I'm ready to go back to Washington and stand up to both sides, Republicans and Democrats, because for the past 10 years I think they have both led us astray. They've both been fiscally irresponsible, and I think we need to restore common sense, new ideas, young ideas to Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tiberi, please.
Can I ask a quick question, Larry?
Yes, absolutely.
I assume that the guy in front of me that's taping me, whose camera's been on me while Paula and Travis is
Please put that down, please.
Probably not
Sure.
with the League of Women Voters.
Please put that down.